Welcome, traveler of the stars. You've arrived at the infinite scientist, where science dreams in the language of the cosmos. Tonight, we drift through the quiet breath of the night, the ancient rhythm that hums between the earth and her eternal companion. If you find beauty in the mysteries that live beyond the sky, let your curiosity rest here. Subscribe and dream with us beneath the silver calm of the moon. Far above the roofs of sleeping cities, the moon glides through the dark like a slow pulse of light. It does not chase the hours nor rush to its place in the sky. It moves with purpose, quiet, steady, certain, as though the universe itself inhales and exhales through its motion. Beneath that calm light, the world begins to move to a rhythm older than time. The earth breathes with the moon. Every tide, every sway of the ocean, every faint pull of gravity is part of this invisible dance. The moon does not shine with its own fire, yet it becomes a mirror for the sun's dreams. And in that reflection, our nights are written. Even the smallest waves answer its call. Long before any telescope found it, the moon ruled over stories and seasons. It watched hunters light fires and sailors chart their journeys across the black waters. Its phases became a language for time, waxing, waning, vanishing, returning. The world learned patience through its cycles, the art of change through its quiet transformations. If the sun governs the day, the moon governs emotion and the pull that moves water and the pull that moves us. Our bodies, mostly made of ocean, still remember this rhythm. Within us, ancient waters rise and fall, following the same subtle gravity that lifts and lowers the tides. We are, in ways unseen, small reflections of the earth itself, breathing with the moon without ever realizing it. Imagine standing on a silent shore. The waves approach and retreat, as if the sea were listening to something far away. That listener is the moon. It does not speak, yet its voice moves mountains of water, stretches coastlines, and teaches the ocean how to sway. The tides are its language, vast, slow syllables written upon the face of the world. But this conversation goes deeper than waves. The moon's pull does not end at the surface. It tugs on the planet's very crust, bending rock and air alike. The Earth itself flexes beneath its influence, shifting by mere centimeters as if bowing to an ancient rhythm. Without the moon, our world would wobble, spin unevenly, and lose its delicate balance between night and day. Stability, seasons, and life itself rest upon that quiet gravitational thread. The beauty of this bond lies in its silence. The moon never demands attention, yet everything moves in answer to it. Flowers time their blooms, coral release their eggs, and creatures of land and sea arrange their lives to its soft commands. Even the human mind, though it denies superstition, responds to the lunar clock. Sleep patterns shift, emotions deepen, and restlessness hums faintly during the full moon. A memory written in biology. When you stand beneath its glow, you are standing beneath the same light that watched over the first spark of life. The moon was there when the oceans were young, when tides began their slow dance across the newborn world. It stirred those ancient waters, creating movement, rhythm, and eventually the conditions for life to emerge. In a way, we owe our existence to that quiet companion above us. The night sky often feels empty, but the moon reminds us that emptiness is full of motion. Every moment gravity stretches between worlds, unseen but unbroken. It is the soft machinery of the cosmos, the reason oceans breathe, the reason time flows evenly, the reason Earth itself sings in balance. The moon may appear still, but in its silence it keeps everything turning, and yet there's something tender about it. The way its light touches rooftops, glows on rivers, and turns faces upward. It feels almost human, like an understanding presence in the dark. Perhaps we project meaning onto it because we need to, or perhaps the moon, in its own way, truly remembers us, the creatures who have whispered its name for thousands of years. When the night deepens and the world slows, listen closely. You can almost feel it, that subtle pulse beneath your breath, the shared rhythm of body, sea, and sky. The moon is breathing with you, holding the earth steady in its endless drift through space, and as the world sleeps, it keeps watch, not as a god or guardian, but as an old friend who never leaves, who reminds us that even in darkness, something is always gently pulling us toward the light. The night breathes with the moon, and through that breath, everything moves, softly, endlessly, together. Far from the noise of cities, where the world is stitched together by waves, the ocean dreams beneath the moon. Its surface glimmers like a slow heartbeat, rising and falling in the silver dark. To the quiet observer, it seems alive, as if the sea itself breathes in time with the sky. The truth is older than life, older than memory. The moon and the ocean are bound in a silent covenant that shapes the rhythm of the earth. Every tide is a conversation between them. The moon leans closer and the water reaches up, drawn by the invisible hand of gravity. When it drifts away, the ocean exhales, retreating back into itself. This pull is not sudden or violent, and it is patient, delicate, continuous. Across every coastline, from the frozen poles to the humid equator, this motion repeats without end, a cosmic lullaby written in salt and light. Long ago, when the earth was young and its seas were still forming, the moon was much closer. Its gravitational pull was fierce, and the tides roared with a strength that shaped the continents. The constant churning of water against rock wore down mountains, carved valleys, and stirred minerals into the depths. Those restless tides became alchemists, blending, dissolving, and reawakening the chemistry of life. It was in those shallow, trembling pools that the first cells began to breathe. Even now, billions of years later, that same rhythm continues, softened, slowed, but never broken. Every high tide carries with it an echo of creation, a whisper of the world's beginning. When the moon pulls, it doesn't just move water, it stirs time itself. The ocean, vast as it is, listens like a living thing. Its surface heaves, and beneath, entire ecosystems sway with the motion. Microscopic plankton drift upward and downward in tidal harmony. Coral reefs bloom in cycles of lunar timing, their polyps releasing clouds of life when the moon signals the right moment. The sea knows, not through thought, but through instinct, through the unbroken inheritance of gravity written into every drop. If one could stand beneath the waves, it would feel like standing within a living lung. The pressure rises and falls in long, slow breaths. The moon's pull is subtle, yet it moves billions of tons of water twice each day. It pulls on the crust of the earth, too, stretching the planet's surface by centimeters. To human eyes, this change is invisible, but the world feels it. The steady pulse of the moon flowing through rock, sea, and air. There is a poetry in how something so distant can shape something so vast. The moon, a cold and silent sphere of dust, commands the mightiest body of water on earth. And yet it does so not with force, but with gentleness, a persuasion rather than a demand. Its light softens the sea, and its gravity guides it. This is power without aggression, control without conquest. In every tide pool, you can see this relationship mirrored on a smaller scale. Tiny crabs and fish wait patiently for the water to return. Shells glint beneath the fading foam, reminders of a world that depends on rhythm. For the creatures of the shore, the moon is not just an ornament in the sky, it is the keeper of time, the regulator of life's heartbeat. Humanity, too, has long measured existence by the tides. Ancient fishermen read the water the way astronomers read stars. They built calendars around the moon's phases, knowing that its cycles foretold the strength and timing of the tides. The new moon brought quiet shallows. The full moon carried roaring swells. To them, it wasn't gravity they felt. It was a conversation, a trust passed between water and sky. Science later gave that trust a name. The gravitational pull of the moon draws the oceans toward it, creating bulges of water on both sides of the Earth. One side faces the moon directly, the other is flung outward by the planet's spin. As the Earth rotates, these bulges move across its surface. Two waves of eternal motion sweeping endlessly around the globe. Every shoreline, every harbor, every whispering bay lives by their rhythm. Yet science, for all its precision, cannot capture the feeling of it, the sight of a tide turning beneath a silent sky. To stand on a moonlit shore is to feel both the weight of gravity and the weightlessness of awe. The air smells of salt and stillness. The sea moves as though it remembers something, perhaps the voice of the moon itself. When the tide reaches its highest crest, the world seems to pause. The moment hangs between motion and stillness, as if the ocean is listening for its next cue. Then gently it retreats. This slow breathing of the earth never stops, never tires. It is the most ancient rhythm we know, one that existed long before human hearts learned to beat. Some scientists believe that life's first stirrings depended on this rhythm, that the constant filling and emptying of tidal pools concentrated molecules into the first living forms. If so, then we are all, in a sense, made from the moon's patience. Its gravity pulled water over the edges of continents, and that water pulled us into being. We owe our existence not just to the sun that warms us, but to the moon that moves us. Perhaps this is why the sea feels like home, why its sound calms us, why its motion lulls us into sleep. The waves mirror something deep within, a pulse that began long before memory. The ocean's secret pulse is not a secret at all. It is the echo of the moon's hand resting gently upon the world. And as the night deepens, the tides continue their endless prayer. A language without words, a song without sound. The moon listens and the ocean answers, and through them the earth remembers how to breathe. Above us, the moon floats like a patient sentinel, silent, constant, always watching. Its journey across the sky seems effortless, yet in that quiet movement lies one of the universe's most delicate acts of balance. There is no rope between the earth and the moon, no visible bond tying one to the other. And yet they move as if joined by an invisible thread, a pull so soft it can cradle oceans, and so strong it can steady a spinning world. Gravity is the tender architect of this dance. It is not a force we can see or hear, yet it shapes everything we know. The moon's gravity reaches across nearly 400,000 kilometers of empty space, touching the Earth with a whisper. That whisper bends oceans, lifts tides, and even slightly tilts the air above us. The same pull that guides the moon's orbit also keeps us standing on the ground, roots every mountain, and tells rivers which way to flow. It's easy to think of gravity as heavy, as the force that drags everything downward. But here, it feels almost romantic. Between the Earth and Moon, gravity becomes a thread of devotion, a link that neither can escape nor abandon. The Earth pulls the Moon, and the Moon pulls back. They orbit a shared point, a secret center called the barycenter, hidden deep beneath the Earth's surface. Around that point, both worlds spin like two dancers, circling the same invisible mark. This silent pull is not merely a matter of motion. It is the very reason life can exist in harmony. Without the Moon's gravity, the Earth's axis would wander chaotically. our planet would tilt wildly, sending climates into confusion, freezing forests one century and boiling deserts the next. Seasons would lose their rhythm, and the delicate balance that nurtures life would dissolve into uncertainty. The moon steadies that tilt, holding Earth upright like a hand, keeping a candle from trembling. But gravity does more than stabilize. It tells time. Every orbit of the moon marks the passing of months. Every tug it exerts slows the Earth's spin ever so slightly, by fractions of a second each year. Billions of years ago, a day on Earth lasted only 6 hours. The moon's steady pull stretched it, little by little, to the 24-hour rhythm we live by now. Time itself has lengthened under the moon's touch. The invisible thread has not only tied the two worlds together, it has shaped the very heartbeat of the planet. It's a gentle irony, a force so unseeable defining everything we see. Even the light that reaches us at night, the pale reflection bathing the world in silver, exists because the moon remains bound to us by gravity. Were it not for that bond, the moon would drift away, its glow lost to the cold, dark beyond. And if the moon left, the tides would flatten, the nights would grow strange, and the Earth's balance would falter. The oceans would no longer breathe, and the rhythm that life has trusted for billions of years would come undone. This thread, though invisible, holds stories. The story of a collision long ago, when a Mars-sized body struck the early Earth, throwing molten debris into space. From that chaos, gravity began its quiet work. It gathered the fragments, shaped them, and called them home to one another. Over millions of years, those fragments became the moon. Since then, the two have never parted. Every tide that reaches a shore, every moonrise that silvers the horizon, is a reminder of that ancient union born from destruction. Even now, the story continues. The moon drifts away from us at a rate of nearly 4 centimeters each year, a slow farewell written in centimeters and centuries. Gravity still binds us, but the distance grows, changing the rhythm of the tides and the length of our days. Someday, far beyond the reach of our species, the moon will stand too far to cause eclipses, and its influence on the seas will fade into memory. The thread will not break, but it will loosen, like an old song sung softer with time. And yet, even in that fading, there is beauty. Gravity teaches that connection does not require proximity. The pull between Earth and Moon is a conversation across emptiness, proof that distance cannot silence relationship. The night sky may look like separation, but it is full of touch. Every orbit, every sway, every glint of moonlight is contact made visible. Perhaps that is why we find comfort in looking up. To gaze at the moon is to feel the pull of something constant, something older than thought. In a universe that drifts endlessly apart, gravity reminds us of togetherness, that unseen bonds can hold even across the vastest distances. Scientists describe gravity as the curvature of space-time, the way matter bends the fabric of reality around it. But maybe it's simpler to feel than to explain. When you stand under the moon's glow, you're standing inside its reach, inside the quiet tension that keeps everything from flying apart. The ocean knows this. The trees know it. Your own body, born from a world sculpted by that same pull, knows it too. There is a deep serenity in this truth. The universe does not hold itself together through force, but through balance. Gravity is not command. It is companionship. It does not shout. It hums, low and eternal, reminding all things where they belong. And as night deepens, that hum continues. The moon glides onward, the earth turns beneath it, and the thread between them stays taut. Through darkness and distance, they remain bound, two travelers sharing the same cosmic breath, never touching, never letting go. The invisible thread hums still, quiet, constant, infinite, keeping the dance alive. The moon rises slowly, and somewhere inside us something stirs. We might not notice it. Not consciously, but the body remembers what the mind forgets. Beneath skin and bone lies an ocean of salt, ancient and restless, still answering to the same lunar rhythm that moves the tides. We carry within us the memory of the sea, and with it, the quiet pull of the moon. Long before humanity learned to stand, before eyes first looked upward in wonder, life began in salt water. The first cells floated in warm tidal pools, their fragile walls swaying with the pulse of the moon's gravity. Those early forms of life didn't just exist beside the tides, they existed because of them. The constant ebb and flow mixed nutrients, stirred light and darkness, and created the conditions for life to bloom. And when those tiny organisms evolved and moved on to land, they carried the ocean inside them, a portable sea to keep them alive. That ocean, over billions of years, became our blood. The chemistry of our bodies still whispers this origin. Our blood plasma mirrors seawater, rich in sodium, chloride, and potassium, the same ions that fill the ocean. The resemblance is not coincidence, but inheritance. Each heartbeat sends that ancient water coursing through us, keeping time with the same rhythm that raises and lowers the tides. When the moon pulls on the seas, it pulls ever so slightly on us as well. This connection is more than poetic. Studies have shown that subtle biological rhythms, sleep, hormones, even fertility, can follow lunar cycles. The menstrual cycle, averaging 28 days, mirrors the moon's orbit almost perfectly. Some scientists believe this is no accident, that our internal clocks evolved in step with the waxing and waning of moonlight. In ancient times, before artificial light, the moon's brightness governed human activity. Full moons brought wakefulness and gathering. New moons encouraged rest. We lived without realizing it by the moon's calendar. Even now our bodies listen. Certain species of fish spawn only under the full moon. Coral reefs release their eggs when moonlight hits the water at a particular angle. Plants open and close petals to lunar rhythms. Humans, though we have hidden ourselves from nature's cues behind glowing screens and sealed walls, still carry the imprint. Some people sleep more lightly beneath the full moon, their melatonin levels dipping as if the body is responding to light it can no longer see. It is strange to think that light reflected from a lifeless world could alter the pulse of our own. Yet this is the quiet miracle of the moon. Its power lies not in what it gives, but in what it reflects. The sunlight it gathers and scatters across our nights becomes something gentler, something emotional. We don't look at the moon for clarity, we look for calm. Its glow softens the world, and somehow it softens us too. Imagine standing by the sea at midnight. The waves shimmer with silver trails. Each crest seems alive with breath. You can feel something in the air, a stillness that hums, a quiet recognition between body and sky. The moon's light touches the surface of the water and the surface of your skin in the same moment. You are both illuminated by the same reflection, both stirred by the same invisible force. In that instant, the distance between you and the cosmos vanishes. Perhaps this is why the moon has always been tied to emotion. Ancient poets spoke of lunacy, of madness born from moonlight. But it was never truly madness. It was sensitivity, the human tendency to feel too much when the world is silent and bright. The moon doesn't drive us to lose ourselves. It reminds us that we are more than thought and muscle, that within us exists something tidal, something pulled between light and darkness. Modern science speaks of circadian and circulunar rhythms, internal cycles tuned to day and night, to moon and sun. But behind those sterile words is a quiet truth. Our biology is not mechanical. It is symphonic. Every cell, every molecule, every beat of the heart is part of a larger pattern, written by forces beyond our comprehension. The moon, in all its stillness, conducts part of that music. When the moon wanes, the ocean recedes, and so do we. Energy dips, thoughts turn inward, sleep deepens. When the moon waxes, tides rise, energy returns, and we look outward again. It is the breath of existence mirrored in celestial rhythm. Inhale and exhale, fullness and emptiness, light and dark. We live suspended between these states, never fixed, always moving in harmony with what surrounds us. To know this is not to believe in myth, but to recognize kinship. The moon does not merely hang in our sky, it hums in our bloodstream. Every drop of water that circulates through our veins once belonged to the ocean it guides. Every breath we take carries the faint memory of salt air. We are not observers of the moon's power. We are participants in it. When you look up at the night sky and see that pale glow, you are not seeing something foreign. You are seeing a reflection of your own history, your own chemistry. You are seeing the light that shaped you. The moon does not only control the tides, it writes them into every living thing. Its gravity tugs at your oceans, its light slips into your dreams, and in the quietest moments, you can feel it. The soft rhythm of something larger moving through you. So the next time you stand beneath its glow, remember, the moon is not distant. It is within you. It spins through your blood, rises and falls in your breath, and whispers through your sleep. The same light that touches the waves has always touched you, and the same tide that shapes the sea shapes your soul. The moon shines above, but its reflection lingers below the skin, a quiet shimmer within our very being. It does not simply watch the earth. It lives within it, breathing through all who are made of water and wonder. When the moon climbs into the dark, the earth begins to listen. In the forests, deserts, and coral reefs, countless lives turn their gaze upward, waiting for that first wash of silver light. To us, the moon is beauty and mystery. To the living world, it is a clock, a whispering metronome that measures time in glow and shadow. The animal kingdom has always been tuned to this celestial rhythm. Long before humanity charted constellations, creatures understood what the moon meant. Its phases dictated when to hunt, when to hide, when to mate, when to migrate. For them, the lunar cycle is not abstract, it is law. The faintest shift in brightness can change the behavior of millions. The moon, from its great distance, conducts a silent orchestra of instinct. In the coral gardens of the Pacific, once every month, the sea turns to glitter. Under the full moon, as the tide peaks and the light spills over the reefs, billions of coral polyps release their eggs and sperm in unison. The ocean becomes a galaxy of living stars, each particle drifting upward in the current. Scientists still marvel at the precision, how these tiny, brainless creatures all act together at the same moment. But they do not need brains to know. They have the moon. Its light tells them that the time has come. In the savannas, wolves and coyotes lift their heads and sing to the same light. Not because of madness or superstition, but because moonlight is their companion in the hunt. When the night grows brighter, prey are easier to see. Packs gather beneath the glow, their voices carrying through the cold air like echoes of the ancient world. The full moon draws them together just as it draws tides toward the shore. Even the predators move in lunar rhythm. Beneath the waves, the rhythm becomes even more intricate. Grunion fish on the coasts of California emerge from the sea to lay their eggs on the sand only after the highest tides, those governed by the full and new moons. When the next set of lunar tides arrives, it washes the newly hatched fish back into the sea. Life begins and ends by that gravitational clock. The moon writes its cycle into the heartbeat of creation. Some species are sculpted almost entirely by moonlight. The turtle, ancient traveler of both land and sea, finds her way home by it. After decades adrift in the ocean, she returns to the same beach where she was born, guided by magnetic fields and the shimmering pull of the moon. Under its silver glow, she crawls ashore, digs her nest, and buries her eggs beneath the sand. Weeks later, the hatchlings rise beneath the same full moon, instinctively following its reflection across the waves. It is a story as old as the Earth's tides, replayed again and again beneath the patient gaze of the moon. And it isn't only the great migrations that obey. The smallest lives follow too. Insects adjust their songs, frogs time their calls, and nocturnal birds navigate by the moon's light. Studies have shown that even zooplankton, microscopic drifters floating in the sea, move vertically in response to lunar brightness, diving deeper when the moon is full to avoid predators, rising when the night grows dark. Every flicker of light, every fraction of phase becomes part of a living rhythm. The moon's influence reaches beyond behavior. It sculpts entire ecosystems. When tides surge with lunar strength, they carry nutrients across coasts, feeding mangroves and plankton blooms. Those blooms feed fish, which feed whales and seabirds. The moon doesn't just light the night, it sustains the food chains that bind life together. It is a silent gardener, moving energy through the veins of the planet. Even within the dark forests where moonlight barely pierces the canopy, its power is felt. Owls adjust their hunts to avoid bright nights. Rodents hide longer when the moon is high, knowing eyes are watching from above. The light that comforts us can be a warning to them, a reminder that visibility is both gift and danger. For every creature that thrives in moonlight, another must learn to survive its exposure. The moon does not choose sides. It simply turns and life adapts. Humans, too, once lived by this rhythm. Ancient hunters timed their travels by the full moon's glow. Farmers read the lunar calendar as scripture, planting, harvesting, and celebrating by its phases. Our ancestors named every moon: the harvest moon, the hunter's moon, the wolf moon. Each name was a story, an understanding that life and light were intertwined. Though we've built cities that drown the sky in artificial suns, the instincts remain. Some still feel restlessness when the full moon rises, a faint ancestral echo calling from the deep. Modern science can measure what once felt like magic. We know now that moonlight is sunlight reflected from dust and stone, that gravity drives the tides, that biological clocks sense light and darkness through chemistry. Yet even with all that knowledge, the enchantment remains. Because no formula captures what it feels like when a forest glows under the full moon, when waves glitter like liquid glass, when wolves sing and corals bloom, and the whole earth seems to hum with quiet electricity. The moon is the great synchronizer, not through command, but through rhythm. It does not force, it invites, it shines, and life answers. The animal kingdom, in all its wild diversity, follows a single metronome swinging gently above the world. Perhaps in our own way, we do too. Maybe the stillness we feel under moonlight is not only awe, but recognition. The body remembering its place in the pattern. For we are animals as well, born of the same earth, breathing the same tides, moving to the same unseen song. The night grows deeper and the moon hangs high, whispering across the fields, forests, and oceans. Every creature, awake or dreaming, feels that whisper in some small way. It is not a sound, but a knowing that life on Earth, from the tiniest plankton to the beating human heart, still dances to the rhythm of the moon. And as dawn nears, the whispers quiet, the songs fade, but the connection remains, invisible, ancient, and true. The world rests again until the moon rises once more, and the great symphony begins anew. When night deepens and the moon climbs higher, the world begins to fall into dream. Across the quiet lands, lights fade, voices hush, and an ancient rhythm takes over, one not ruled by time or machines, but by something older and softer, the pull of the moon. Humans sleep, though shaped by habit and clock, still bends to that glow. The body listens even when the mind does not. It knows when the night is full and when the shadows thin. The moon speaks not in words, but in light. In its slow waxing and waning, its gentle invitation to drift inward. Long before science measured sleep in waves and cycles, our ancestors felt it intuitively. They believed the moon had moods, that its fullness stirred emotions, that its darkness quieted them. In many places, people would wake in the middle of the night during the full moon, restless and alert, as though something had whispered their names. Even now, studies hint that sleep is shallower, dreams are more vivid, and minds are more restless beneath a bright lunar sky. The body's chemistry shifts. Melatonin dips slightly, the internal tide changing course, reminding us we are still creatures of the natural world. It's an invisible tide within the human heart. We may not see the waves, but we feel them. Just as the moon pulls oceans toward its light, it seems to draw out hidden feelings, memories, longings, quiet fears. Dreams become the shore where those inner waters meet the sky. Imagine a night washed in silver. Through a half-drawn curtain, moonlight pools softly on the floor. The air feels tender, neither cold nor warm, and time stretches like silk. In that stillness, thoughts begin to unspool. Not the sharp kind that fill the day, but slow, weightless ones drifting through the dark. The moon becomes both mirror and lantern, lighting the landscapes of the mind. For thousands of years, people looked to the moon to understand their dreams. In ancient Mesopotamia, priests recorded dream symbols beneath lunar calendars, believing the moon governed visions of prophecy. The Egyptians saw it as the eye of Thoth, the keeper of wisdom and dreams. The Greeks gave it to Selene, goddess of the night, whose light could awaken love or madness. In each culture, the moon was not distant. It was intimate, entwined with thought and soul. Even now, there's something about moonlight that invites introspection. It softens the edges of things, making the world feel fragile and infinite at once. Under it, even the hardest truths seem less harsh. Lovers walk slower, poets find their words, and the lonely feel a presence just beyond the window pane. The moon gives space to the feelings daylight hides: grief, wonder, yearning. It turns silence into a kind of conversation. Dreams often borrow from its language. They are full of reflections of soft light and slow motion, of floating and falling, of things glimpsed and almost remembered. The moon becomes a symbol of the dream itself, constant, yet changing, bright, yet unreachable, reflecting a light not its own. Scientists call this a coincidence of cycles, the circadian rhythm meeting the lunar one, the chemical tides within us rising and falling as the moon does. But the language of chemistry cannot capture the feeling of standing alone beneath a full moon when even your shadow seems alive. It cannot explain why dreams under that light linger longer, why waking feels gentler, as though you've crossed through something sacred. In the calm of such nights, the boundaries between waking and dreaming blur. The body sleeps, but some part of awareness continues to wander. Perhaps it walks beneath the moon's pale arc, following paths that only exist in half-light. These are not nightmares or bright visions. They are the dreams of stillness, where time folds and the self becomes as weightless as dust on a moonbeam. Artists have always listened to these dreams. Painters caught the glimmer of silver on rivers, composers wrote melodies that seemed to sway with the lunar pull, and poets wrote of longing, of distance, of a light that heals and haunts at once. Even scientists, in their quiet way, are dreamers beneath the same sky, looking through telescopes at that cold world of stone, yet seeing beauty instead of emptiness. There's an intimacy between the moon and the dreaming mind. Both reveal what daylight hides. Both exist in the realm of reflection. One mirrors the sun, the other mirrors the soul. And when they meet, when the sleeper lies under the glow of the moon, something ancient awakens, the feeling that you are both small and infinite, tethered to the same rhythm as the tides and stars. Some nights, when the moon is thin and fading, dreams grow quieter. They drift away like mist, and the body sleeps deeply, untouched by light. These are the nights of rest, the dark moons of the mind. Other nights, when the moon is full and the room gleams pale, the dreams are bright and detailed, heavy with meaning, as though the soul itself is illuminated. The cycle continues, one of light and shadow, wakefulness and surrender. Perhaps this is why we find such peace in watching the moon. Even when we cannot sleep, its calm reminds us that everything moves in rhythm, the sea, the blood, the dream, the dawn. To watch it rise is to feel that rhythm align, the inner and outer worlds breathing together. As the night stretches toward morning, the moon drifts westward, dimming against the coming light. Dreams unravel soft as silk threads. The sleeper stirs, carrying a faint echo of the night's quiet journey. A feeling more than a memory, a whisper of silver left behind in the heart. And as the first rays of sunlight spill across the earth, the moon fades, as if stepping gently aside. The dreams it inspired dissolve into waking thoughts, but its presence lingers, a silent reminder that the mind, like the ocean, is still moved by distant light. For even when the moon disappears, it remains, waiting beyond the day, patient, constant, breathing with us through every night, whispering softly to the world, "Rest now. Dream. The light will find you again." At the edge of the world, where the sea lifts its silver face to the heavens, the moon's reflection shivers upon the waves. It is there, in that delicate meeting of water and light, that one can feel the universe breathe. The horizon blurs, neither ocean nor air, neither earth nor sky. Only a slow, endless conversation between two mirrors, one above, one below. Each night, the moon bends down toward the sea, and the sea rises to meet it. This meeting is not sudden nor loud, but a long, tender gesture repeated across eons. The tides stretch toward the glow, drawn by gravity's invisible hand. Then they fall away again, as if bowing in reverence. This is how the world remembers to move, not through engines or commands, but through longing. The ocean's surface mirrors the moon so perfectly that for a moment they seem one. Sailors of old often believed that the moon was born from the sea, a drop of glowing water flung into the heavens. When the moon is full and low, its reflection seems close enough to touch, trembling across the waves like a doorway to another world. Yet, as one approaches, it slips away, retreating with each ripple, reminding us that beauty often exists just beyond reach. Science tells us this is reflection. Physics, simple geometry of light upon water. But the heart feels more than the mind can measure. In that soft shimmer lies something eternal, a bond that binds air, sea and sky together. When moonlight strikes the water, it scatters through salt and mist, creating a quiet glow that lingers in the air. Some nights the ocean seems to breathe light, as though the sea itself has learned to dream. The tides, too, are the moon's handwriting upon the earth. Every rise and retreat tells of the pull above, of gravity's gentle persuasion. When the moon climbs high, the sea follows. When it falls away, the waters sigh and sink back into themselves. These movements may seem distant to those who live inland, but they are the heartbeat of the planet. Every grain of sand shifted by the tide, every coral reef bathed and bared, is part of that endless dialogue between sea and sky. Even deep within the ocean, Where sunlight never reaches, the moon's influence can still be felt. Marine creatures rise and fall with the tides, their internal rhythms guided by lunar cycles. Some spawn only under a full moon, timing their entire existence to its glow. The coral reefs of the Pacific, for instance, release their eggs in perfect synchrony, as if answering a signal from the heavens. The moon does not simply light the sea, it orchestrates it. To watch a tide move is to see the moon's language made visible. The waves are its syllables, the foam its fleeting punctuation. It is a story without end, told not in words but in motion. A reminder that even the vastest elements listen to something beyond themselves. The sea is the body, the moon is the soul, and together they create rhythm, the pulse of the living earth. On quiet nights, when the air is still, the reflection of the moon stretches across the ocean like a path of light. Sailors once called it the moon's road, believing it led to the realm of gods and spirits. Many would sit for hours, staring into that shimmering path, feeling an ache they could not name, a longing to follow it to wherever it ended. Perhaps it is that same longing that still stirs within us when we look at the horizon, the same pull that draws the tide toward the moon. In truth, the horizon is not a line but an illusion, a moment of balance where the eye meets infinity. It is there that we feel the connection between what is known and what is not. The sea touches the sky, yet they never truly meet. Their embrace is eternal but always apart, like the earth and moon themselves. Perhaps that is the quiet secret of the universe, that longing, not completion, gives shape to motion. Even our own hearts echo that truth. Within our veins flows salt water, the same ancient sea that first answered the moon's call. Every heartbeat is a miniature tide, rising and falling in rhythm with that unseen pull. When we gaze at the horizon, we are not merely watching a meeting of elements. We are remembering something deep within us, a memory written in the tides of our blood. As night deepens, the horizon disappears into shadow, and the boundary between water and sky fades. The moon rises higher, and the ocean darkens until it seems bottomless. Somewhere out there, beyond the visible world, the sea and sky become one. The reflection of the moon glows softly, no longer a shape but a feeling, a quiet luminescence that belongs to both. The ancients often believed that souls traveled to the moon after death, carried across the ocean by the tide. The water was the bridge, the reflection the doorway. Perhaps they sensed what science now confirms, that we are bound, atom by atom, to this rhythm. The hydrogen in our water, the calcium in our bones, the light in our eyes, all once belonged to stars, and the moon, silent guardian of our nights, merely reminds us of that inheritance. When dawn approaches, the silver road upon the sea fades. The moon dims, and the ocean begins to mirror the growing gold of the sky. Yet even as day returns, the pull remains. Steady, unseen, eternal. The tide will continue to move, breathing in and out, tracing the same slow rhythm it has kept since time began. The sea and the sky will keep meeting, again and again, at the horizon that never truly exists. And in that illusion, the earth finds balance between above and below, stillness and motion, light and darkness. As the last glimmer of the moon disappears beyond the morning mist, one can almost hear the world sigh, a sound both vast and tender, as if the sea itself whispers to the sky, "Until tonight, my friend," until the light returns. Long before calendars and clocks, before satellites tracked the turning of the earth, there was the moon, silent, steady, and watchful. It was humanity's first calendar, its first teacher of time. Farmers once looked not to machines or printed almanacs, but to the changing face of the night sky, trusting the silver rhythms above to guide the life that grew beneath. In the ancient world, when nights were darker and stars burned brighter, the moon ruled both sleep and survival. Each phase carried meaning, a whisper of what the earth was ready to give. The new moon marked beginnings, seeds pressed into soil, fields freshly turned. The first crescent, a promise of life to come. When the full moon rose, round and heavy with light, it was the time for reaping, for gathering what the earth had given under its patient watch. And as the moon waned, the world exhaled, resting in preparation for another cycle. It is easy to imagine those early farmers standing at the edge of their fields, eyes lifted to the glowing disk that told them when to move, when to wait, when to hope. They did not think of gravity or reflection or orbit. To them, the moon was a companion, a clock made of light, written across the sky. Even today, echoes of those lunar calendars remain. Many agricultural traditions still follow the moon's phases, believing that planting under certain lights brings stronger roots, fuller harvests, more vibrant fruit. It may sound like myth, but even science lends it a gentle nod. The moon's gravitational pull affects not only tides, but also the moisture within soil. Subtle changes that influence how water moves through earth and plant alike. Seeds sown under a waxing moon may indeed find a slightly kinder world in which to begin. But beyond the physics lies something deeper, a rhythm the human spirit has always known. The moon gives us not just time, but a way to feel time. Its light moves slowly, reminding us that growth, like orbit, is never rushed. Each phase offers patience, the promise that what sleeps today will wake tomorrow, and what fades will one day return. In villages illuminated by nothing but firelight, people once gathered on full moon nights to celebrate the harvest. Music would drift through fields heavy with grain. Laughter would mingle with the hum of crickets. Under that glowing sky, there was no need for clocks, only the knowledge that another cycle had been completed. The earth had kept its word, and the moon had kept its watch. Even in cities now flooded with artificial light, the old instinct remains. A full moon still pulls our eyes upward, still stirs a sense of timing within us. Perhaps it is because the moon gives time a face, a visible rhythm we can see and trust. Days pass unnoticed, but the moon reminds us that every ending contains its beginning. There is poetry in that simple truth. Each crescent and shadow tells us that life, too, is a cycle, not a straight road, but a circle that renews itself through patience. The farmer's clock of light was never meant to measure minutes. It was meant to measure faith. It taught people to wait for rain, to trust the soil, to know that darkness is not an end, but a preparation for growth. Imagine a night deep in autumn. The fields have been cleared, the air smells of earth and wood smoke, and the moon rises fat and golden above the trees. Somewhere in the dark, a farmer leans on his spade, watching that light spread across his land. Every furrow glows faintly. Every stalk of wheat, every stone, every drop of dew reflects a piece of the moon. In that glow he feels not small, but connected, part of a pattern as old as the world itself. For generations, people named the moons of the year after the labors they guided. The planting moon, the harvest moon, the hunter's moon, the snow moon. Each name was a story, a memory of what the earth and moon accomplished together. These names still survive, whispering across centuries, a reminder that even progress must still bow to the sky. And though machines now count our seconds more precisely than any moon could, there's a quiet emptiness in that precision. The old lunar clock moved slower, but it moved with meaning. It aligned human labor with natural rhythm, reminding us that creation, whether in fields, art, or spirit, follows cycles, not deadlines. The moon's calendar was never rigid. It bent and breathed just as life does. A farmer who missed the perfect night to plant could wait another cycle. The moon would always return. There was forgiveness written into its orbit, a soft understanding that all things move in their own time. In this age of glowing screens and unending clocks, that understanding feels almost forgotten. Yet the moon still keeps its patient watch, still marks the passage of seasons whether we look up or not. It continues to rise over empty fields and crowded cities alike, whispering the same lesson it once gave to the first hands that tilled the earth. Everything grows in its time. Everything ripens in its light. Even now, when farmers walk their land beneath a full moon, they see not only their work, but the entire lineage of those who came before, generations who trusted the sky to guide their hands. The moonlight that touches their crops is the same that once fell on the first seeds ever planted by human hands, unchanged across millennia. The moon does not hurry. It simply moves. Its clock is not one of urgency, but of assurance. It turns the heavens into a gentle teacher, reminding us that the pace of nature is the pace of truth. Growth is not measured by how quickly something rises, but by how deeply it roots. And so the farmer's clock still ticks, though silently, not in seconds, but in light and shadow. It teaches us to look upward when the world feels uncertain, to trust the rhythm that has never faltered. When the night ends, the moon sinks toward the horizon, brushing its last silver over the sleeping fields. The earth, for a moment, seems to pause, soil, air, and leaf united in a single breath. Then dawn returns, and the cycle begins anew. The fields awaken. The farmer walks the furrows again, and somewhere within the soil, a seed opens its first green thought, guided, as always, by the quiet pull of the moon. There are moments when the universe holds its breath. The air stills, light bends, and day turns briefly into dream. These are the moments of eclipse when the earth, moon, and sun align so precisely that shadows become architects of wonder. For a few quiet minutes, the ordinary rhythm of the world halts, and we are reminded that even darkness can be an act of beauty. When the moon slips between earth and sun, a solar eclipse is born. The sky dims, not like nightfall, but like a sigh. Birds go silent, the air cools, and the world seems to pause in reverence. The sun's burning face, too bright to look upon, is suddenly veiled by a perfect shadow. Around its edges glows a pale ring, the corona, a ghostly halo that flickers like a living flame. For that brief time, light and shadow coexist in perfect balance. It is not destruction, but harmony, an alignment written in the slow mathematics of the cosmos. Then there is the lunar eclipse, when the Earth stands between sun and moon, and our planet's shadow paints the moon in shades of copper and red. It is the Earth's fingerprint across the sky, proof that even we cast reflections in the heavens. Ancient people called it the blood moon, believing it was a sign of warning of endings or beginnings. But beneath the myth, the truth was simpler and more profound. We were watching the geometry of our own existence, the play of light and distance that made our world possible. Shadows are not absence. They are evidence of presence. Every eclipse, every darkened sky, is a reminder that even light needs contrast to be seen. Without shadow, there would be no definition, no contour, no sense of depth. The moon's ability to cast and receive shadow is not a trick of celestial movement. It is a reflection of the delicate balance that sustains all things. These cosmic alignments are rare, not because the bodies resist one another, but because the universe prefers imperfection. The moon's orbit tilts slightly, key to quiet defiance that prevents constant eclipses. Only when that tilt aligns just right do the three bodies fall into the same invisible plane, and for a breath of time, the heavens perform their choreography. It is the universe's version of stillness, a momentary pause in eternal motion. Imagine standing beneath a total solar eclipse. The light begins to fade in slow ripples, the warmth of the sun bleeding away. Shadows sharpen, then distort, as though the air itself is bending. The sky turns an otherworldly violet, and a ring of fire ignites above. Around you, stars appear in midday, and time itself feels uncertain. In that surreal twilight, people look upward, not in fear, but in awe, witnessing something vast yet intimate. It feels like watching the universe close its eyes just for a moment to rest. In ancient times, eclipses were omens, events that stirred both fear and reverence. Kings trembled, priests prayed, and common people gathered in silence. They did not understand orbits or optics. They felt only the weight of mystery, and perhaps they were not wrong to feel so. For even with all we now know, it's about light scattering, about shadow cones and celestial mechanics, the experience still stirs something primal. Knowledge does not diminish wonder, it deepens it. The moon's shadow, racing across the Earth at thousands of kilometers per hour, reminds us of the speed of existence. That fleeting darkness touches mountains, forests, oceans, then moves on, leaving behind a sense of quiet reverence. The world returns to light, but something has shifted. We are reminded, if only briefly, that even the most constant stars and planets are still dancing, moving in patterns older than memory, guided by rules written before thought. There's poetry in the precision, a cosmic clockwork so perfect that the moon, 400 times smaller than the sun, appears exactly the same size in our sky because it is 400 times closer. By chance or design, this balance allows eclipses to exist, a visual symmetry that ties together scale and distance, light and shadow, earth and sky. It is as if the universe allows us these rare glimpses to remind us that even vastness can find harmony. In those moments, humanity shares something rare: silence. Across continents, people stop what they are doing, step outside and look upward together. No words, no noise, just millions of eyes tracing the same shape in the sky. For that brief alignment, every difference dissolves. There are no borders beneath an eclipse, only the shared smallness of being under the same shadow. Perhaps that is what makes these events so haunting. They do not belong to any one person, yet each feels personal, as if the cosmos is speaking directly to the soul. When the moon passes before the sun, the heart stirs with the same rhythm as the tides it commands. We recognize something of ourselves in that fleeting darkness, the way we, too, are shaped by cycles of light and shadow. And when the shadow moves on, when sunlight spills back across the land, the world feels subtly new. The colors return richer, the air warmer, as though creation has just been refreshed. Even the moon, cold and distant, seems to glow with quiet pride. It has reminded us once again of the beauty of impermanence. Every eclipse is both an ending and a beginning. It tells us that even darkness has purpose, that even shadow can be sacred. The same force that hides the sun also reveals its hidden fire. The same earth that blocks light from the moon paints it with color. Creation and concealment, presence and absence, all woven together in one seamless act. As the sky brightens and the day resumes, people disperse, but something lingers, a memory of that hush, that brief alignment when everything felt ordered, meaningful. The moon continues its orbit. The earth spins onward, and the sun burns on, unchanged, yet renewed in our eyes. Far above, the shadow fades into space, dissolving into the same nothingness from which light emerges. The universe exhales, the rhythm continues, and somewhere deep within, we carry the quiet knowledge that we too are part of that balance, that we live, breathe, and dream between light and shadow. Because it is the shadows that shape the world, not as barriers to light, but as the very forms that let us see. The moon drifts through the sky like a thought half-remembered, slow, constant, almost eternal. Yet beneath its calm and distant glow lies an astonishing precision, a hidden machinery that keeps the balance of our world intact. We see only the silver face, the quiet companion of night. But unseen, the moon is a cosmic engineer, its pull shaping oceans, its orbit steadying time, its invisible gears keeping the rhythm of the earth from unraveling. Every motion it makes, every rise, every driftwood is part of an ancient choreography written in gravity. It is not just a rock circling our planet. It is the counterweight to the Earth's wildness, the regulator of tides and tilt, the silent custodian of stability. If the moon vanished, the Earth would not simply lose its nightlight. The world itself would begin to tremble out of tune. The Earth tilts as it spins, leaning just enough to give us seasons, the slow breathing of the planet. But that tilt, fragile as a balancing top, is held steady by the moon's gravitational hand. Without it, the Earth would wobble unpredictably, casting climates into chaos. Ice ages might come and go like restless dreams, deserts could bloom where forests once stood, and the rhythm of life itself would lose its meter. The moon keeps the Earth's spine straight, not perfectly, but enough for harmony. The tides, too, are part of this clockwork. We think of waves as chaos, water crashing, retreating, forever in motion. Yet each rise and fall follows the moon's gentle pull. When the moon passes overhead, its gravity tugs the oceans upward, creating a swelling that moves with it across the world. 2 tides each day, one facing the moon, one on the far side, a double heartbeat keeping time with the lunar orbit. This movement does more than shape coastlines. It stirs the waters of the world, mixing warmth and nutrients, keeping oceans alive. It was in these restless shallows that early life learned to move, adapting to the rhythm of lunar gravity. The same tides that tug at continents once tugged at cells. The moon's invisible machinery runs not only through space but through the memory of living things. Even the length of our days owes something to that ancient pull. Long ago the Earth spun faster. Days lasted only a few hours. But as the moon's gravity slowed our rotation, it gave birth to the 24-hour rhythm we now live by. In return, the moon drifted farther away, inch by inch, like a pendulum releasing tension. That slow separation continues even now at the pace of a fingernail's growth, a reminder that even balance evolves. If you could listen to time itself, perhaps you would hear it. The whisper of gravitational exchange, a conversation billions of years old. The moon pulling, the Earth yielding, both locked in a tender, eternal give and take. This is no lifeless mechanism, no cold machine. It is motion married to meaning, mechanics shaped into poetry. The moon's orbit is not a perfect circle, but an ellipse, a subtle imperfection that breathes life into its influence. When it is closest, tides grow stronger, emotions swell, and nights shine brighter. When it drifts farther, the pull softens, the world exhales. The cycle repeats endlessly, like a pulse too vast to measure with human time. We live within that pulse. Every wave, every gust of wind, every quiet turn of season echoes its rhythm. Scientists speak of angular momentum and tidal friction, of orbital resonance and gravitational lock. Words that describe the precision, but not the wonder. Because beyond the mathematics lies something deeper. The simple truth that harmony requires tension. The Earth spins and strains, the moon resists and pulls, and between them is balance, not peace, but stability earned through movement. And in that tension, time itself is measured. The moon's orbit defines our months, our calendars, our ancient ways of marking existence. Long before clocks and compasses, humans traced time by lunar motion. Full, new, waxing, waning. The moon was our first metronome, our first celestial clock. Its cycles taught us to count, to harvest, to hope. Even now, digital screens and atomic clocks only echo what the moon began. If we could stand outside the system and watch from afar, we'd see the Earth and moon as a duet, two dancers circling a shared center, invisible but real. The Earth does not stand still. It wobbles slightly, pulled off center by its smaller companion. They orbit each other, bound by gravity's thread, forever entwined. Each movement is both push and pull, balance and exchange. It is easy to forget how fragile this arrangement is. Shift the moon's orbit slightly and the tides would change. Alter its distance and the days would lengthen or shorten. Tilt its path and the seasons might shatter. The machinery may seem eternal, but it is not unbreakable. It is sustained by the same delicate mathematics that hold galaxies together and atoms apart. And yet, this fragility is what makes it beautiful. The moon's stability is born not from stillness, but from movement, a dynamic balance that mirrors life itself. Just as hearts beat and lungs rise and fall, the Earth and moon breathe through their gravitational dance. Each motion is a correction, a response, a moment of cosmic grace. Sometimes, late at night, when the moon hangs low and full over quiet water, you can almost sense that machinery at work. The pull of the tides beneath the surface, the subtle slowing of the Earth's spin, the invisible exchange of motion and time. The world seems perfectly still, but in truth everything is moving, measured, patient, precise. The moon's hidden machinery is not made of gears or metal. It is built from gravity and silence, from ancient dust and memory. It runs without sound, without heat, without end. It shapes the rhythm of oceans, the tilt of continents, the length of our days. It hums in a frequency too deep for ears to hear, but not too subtle for the soul to feel. We owe our balance to it, not just physical, but emotional. For in its steadiness, the moon teaches us something about endurance, about the power of quiet constancy. It reminds us that unseen forces often hold the world together, and that motion, even when slow and silent, can be sacred. Somewhere above, that pale sphere continues its eternal orbit, neither rushing nor resting, neither fading nor flaring, just turning, keeping time for a planet that does not always notice. It is the unseen hand of harmony, the silent clock in the sky, the quiet machinery that keeps us whole. The moon has always watched from a distance, patient, unwavering, silent. To most eyes, it is only a pale ornament of the night, circling endlessly above. Yet beneath that stillness lies the truth of its guardianship. Without the moon, life on Earth might never have endured. Our seasons would twist unpredictably, tides would falter, and the climate would lose its rhythm. It does not roar or command. It simply holds, quietly, constantly, like a guardian who protects by presence alone. If the sun is our source of energy, the moon is our keeper of balance. It tempers the Earth's restlessness, a cosmic stabilizer that keeps the planet's tilt steady against the chaos of space. For billions of years, the moon's pull has kept the Earth's axis from wandering too far, ensuring that our seasons change gently, not violently. The winters grow cold but not endless. The summers warm but not unbearable. This fragile equilibrium allows oceans to circulate, forests to breathe, and life to plan its rhythm around the certainty of returning light. Without this companion, the Earth would spin like a drunken top, wobbling, unpredictable, erratic. Some regions might freeze for centuries, others burn without reprieve. Evolution itself would stumble through instability. The moon's gravity acts as a cosmic hand, steadying the axis so that the dance of life can continue without collapse. It is a strange thought. that something so far away, so apparently detached, could be the architect of our calm. Yet this is the nature of the universe: influence without contact, order born from distance. The moon's very existence is an act of restraint, its gentle tug a quiet refusal to let chaos win. That stability flows down into every ocean wave. The tides, which seem wild and aimless, are the pulse of the moon's protection. They breathe oxygen into the seas, stir nutrients from the deep, and keep coastlines alive. The moon ensures that water never stagnates, that oceans remain in motion, a vast circulatory system for the planet. In those tides, the first living things learn to move, to adapt, to anticipate rhythm. Every fish that swims, every coral that blooms, carries within it the inheritance of lunar gravity. There is a subtle poetry in that life, in all its color and sound, was sculpted by something that makes no sound at all. The moon, lifeless and airless, gave shape to vitality through its pull alone. It does not create, but it allows creation to endure. Its influence is not confined to water. The moon's presence shapes air, temperature, and even light. During the long night, when the sun retreats, it becomes a mirror, softening darkness just enough for eyes to find their way, for nocturnal creatures to hunt, and for early humans to dream. Before fire, before the first spark of civilization, it was the moon that lit our way through the primal dark. Under its glow, our ancestors learned to wander beyond the safety of day. It watched over their steps, over their fears, over their beginnings. Even now, the human mind seems wired to respond to its rhythm. The moon does not command us, yet our bodies, like the seas, sway to its timing. Sleep deepens or lightens with its phases. Emotions ebb and flow beneath its glow. Perhaps buried deep within our biology, something ancient still remembers the tides of origin. We are water, after all, and water remembers. The moon also guards the earth from dangers beyond. Though invisible to most, its gravity serves as a celestial shield. Many asteroids and fragments of debris are deflected or absorbed by its presence. Countless impacts that could have scarred our world have instead been taken by that silent sphere. Its surface bears the wounds of what it has protected us from, every crater a record of sacrifice. Look closely at the moon through a telescope, and you are not just seeing rock. You are seeing history written in scars, a cosmic guardian's record of battles fought without sound, and yet it does not boast. It continues to orbit, patient, unchanging. It needs no thanks, no recognition. Its very stillness is its purpose, a celestial vow kept across billions of years. Scientists once calculated that without the moon, the length of a day on Earth would drift, the axis would tilt wildly, and perhaps even the evolution of complex life would have halted. Stability gave time the space to create complexity. The moon gave the Earth a stage where life could rehearse, adapt, and evolve without the lights flickering out. It is the reason forests can grow, oceans can settle, and generations can predict the return of spring. It is tempting to see it as lifeless, a barren stone, cold and unfeeling. But the moon is not dead. It is duty incarnate. It works in silence, shaping and protecting through gravitational whispers. It has no heartbeat, yet the rhythm of life on Earth depends on it. It has no warmth, yet it keeps our seasons gentle. It has no breath, yet it steadies the air we breathe. Imagine the Earth without it, the night unanchored, the tides confused, the planet leaning drunkenly in the void. Stars would still burn, but the world would feel hollow, stripped of its calm cadence. The moon is the counterweight that lets our world dream safely, and so when we look up at it, luminous, distant, serene, we are not merely witnessing beauty. We are looking at a promise kept. Every reflection of moonlight on the sea is a reminder that balance is not born from power, but from patience. that sometimes the most vital forces are the quietest ones. The moon does not need to shine on its own. It reflects the sun's light, becoming a second-hand glow of warmth and meaning. Yet that reflection is enough to guide, to inspire, to protect. It teaches that even borrowed light can be sacred if it's steady enough to last. So tonight, when you see the moon rising slow above the horizon, pale gold turning silver, know that it is not merely the night's ornament. It is the oldest guardian you have. It holds the tilt of your seasons, the balance of your oceans, and the rhythm of your days. You live, move, and dream under its quiet care. And though it will never speak, its message is clear, written across eons of orbit and reflection. The world endures because something small, silent, and faithful keeps watch. The moon, the silent guardian of life. The moon does not simply shine upon the world. It seeps quietly into us. Its glow finds the ocean within our blood, the salt of our tears, the rhythm of our sleep. It lingers behind the eyes long after we stop looking. Though it seems distant and silent, the moon has always spoken, not in words, but in pulses and moods, in the strange tides of thought that rise and fall beneath its light. Some nights, the moon feels almost human, watchful, moody, endlessly changing. It is full, and we feel awake. It wanes, and we feel quieter. It hides, and we dream more deeply. There is no switch or sound, yet something in us listens. We are wired to the same rhythm that governs the seas, the same gravitational whisper that moves tides and tempers sleep. The connection is ancient, older than our cities, older than memory. Long before science gave us names for hormones or circadian cycles, the moon ruled the unseen world of emotion. Ancient people marked their calendars not by weeks, but by moons. Each phase carried meaning: growth, release, reflection, rest. Our ancestors believed that to live well was to live in rhythm with the moon. They weren't wrong. The light of the moon is not sunlight. It is gentler, reflected, diffused. It lacks the heat of day, yet it carries a kind of emotional warmth. It doesn't force itself upon the world. It invites. It doesn't illuminate to reveal. It illuminates to dream. Under its glow, the mind changes shape. Thoughts soften, defenses loosen. The night becomes less about what we see and more about what we feel. Sleep studies have shown that during the full moon, humans tend to sleep less deeply. Dreams become more vivid, sometimes stranger. The body's clock, tuned to cycles of light, subtly adjusts to lunar rhythm, even when we can't see it directly. Our ancestors might have called it magic. We call it melatonin. But whether we speak in myth or in chemistry, the truth is the same. The moon still whispers in the brain's dark waters. The pull is not only physical, it is psychological. The moon has long been a mirror for emotion, its phases echoing the quiet transformations within us. In its fullness, we sense expansion and invisible rising. In its decline, we sense withdrawal, a need to turn inward. The human heart, like the tide, moves between these poles of brightness and shadow. We fall in love under its light, grieve beneath its absence, and find reflection in its change. Artists, poets, and dreamers have always known this, even before science confirmed it. To them, the moon was not just a celestial body, it was consciousness made visible. The painter found inspiration in its calm distance. The poet, solace in its solitude. Its light was a metaphor for every quiet revelation, every thought that flickered too softly to survive the day. And perhaps that is its greatest influence. The moon gives us permission to feel small, and in that smallness, profound. It reminds us that reflection is not weakness. It is light seen differently. Just as the moon borrows the sun's glow, we borrow the world's light in moments of thought. We too are reflections, conscious beings who shine with the brightness we receive and return. In the night stillness, the mind becomes a mirror of the sky. Thoughts drift in slow orbits, circling the center of memory and meaning. The moon becomes a kind of clock for introspection, a measure for the cycles of the heart. It has seen every phase of human life: birth, loss, desire, discovery. It knows the flicker of firelight on the first storyteller's face, the tears of the first lover who looked up and saw themselves reflected there. Science can explain how its light travels, how photons bounce and scatter through air, how our eyes translate them into meaning, but it cannot quite describe the feeling, that deep, wordless awareness that arises when we look at it. The moon awakens something that logic cannot measure. It calls forth an ancient memory of belonging. It is no coincidence that the moon's cycle mirrors the menstrual cycle, both roughly a month long. In many ancient cultures, this was seen as sacred harmony, the moon and the body sharing time. Even now, many find emotional resonance in this rhythm, sensing that the moon's phases speak not just to the world, but to the soul's own waxing and waning. When the moon is full, its light touches everything: oceans, leaves, windows, skin. It is the same light that brushed over our ancestors' faces 1,000 generations ago, and it awakens the same quiet wonder. In that moment, the boundary between mind and cosmos feels thinner. The self becomes porous. We sense our thoughts expanding outward, merging with the world's slow pulse. But when the moon hides, when it turns its face away in shadow, a different truth reveals itself: the beauty of absence. The new moon is the time of rest, of release, of unseen transformation. Just as it retreats to renew, we too need darkness to reset. The moon teaches balance not through brightness, but through the rhythm of appearing and vanishing. Even now, when city lights drown the stars, the moon endures as a symbol of clarity. We look up at it not to navigate the world, but to navigate ourselves. It is the night's quiet counsel, a reminder that light doesn't need to shout to be understood. Its glow reaches us not through intensity, but through persistence. The mind, like the moon, reflects what it receives. When life grows harsh, the moon reminds us that reflection is not passivity. It is strength softened by patience. It does not fight the dark. It turns darkness into meaning. Every thought we have, every dream that stirs before sleep, is another ripple in that same luminous sea. And perhaps that is why, even now, we cannot look at the moon without feeling something unnamed. A tenderness, a longing, a strange calm that arrives without reason. It is not superstition, it is recognition. Somewhere within, the body remembers the pull. The mind remembers the mirror. The spirit remembers the light. The moon has no voice, yet it speaks clearly. You are not separate from the night that holds you. You are made of the same dust that reflects this light. You too are a mirror of the cosmos, shining softly, quietly, beautifully borrowed. And so the moon continues to speak, not through sound, but through silence. Not through power, but through reflection. It is the light that speaks to the mind, and the mind, in its stillness, answers back. Before there was memory, before there was voice, there was the moon. It hung over the newborn earth like a guardian made of silence. Its glow reflected upon oceans that had only just begun to stir. In that ancient stillness, the world was chaos becoming order. Molten rock cooling into continents, storms carving the shape of seas, and the moon watching from its newly claimed sky. It was smaller then, closer, brighter. The tides it pulled were fierce, the days shorter, the planets spinning fast beneath its influence. Together they began the long duet that would give rise to life. The moon's story begins in fire. Billions of years ago, a planet the size of Mars, Theia, struck the young Earth in a cataclysm so immense it reshaped both worlds. From the molten wreckage, the Earth reformed, and the Moon was born. A child of impact, carved from the same material as its mother. It drifted outward, glowing red at first, still hot with memory. Over time, it cooled, hardened, and settled into orbit. From that moment onward, the Moon and Earth became inseparable, two halves of a single cosmic accident, forever influencing each other's fate. In those early ages, the tides roared like great beasts. Water climbed hundreds of feet inland, then retreated violently, dragging rock and mineral, mixing the elements of creation. These primal tides shaped coastlines, formed tidal pools, and stirred the chemistry that would one day spark life. The Moon's gravity, relentless and rhythmic, was a celestial hand kneading the raw dough of the world. Inside those shallow pools, under the flicker of a cooling sky, molecules began to meet and bind. The first whispers of life took form, fragile chains of carbon and water, guided by nothing but chance and time. But chance alone cannot create rhythm. It was the Moon's regular pull that gave those early seas their heartbeat, a pattern, a pulse, a sense of time. Life arose not only from chemistry, but from cadence. Every creature that would follow, every fish, every bird, every human, carries a faint memory of that rhythm. It is in the blood, in the rise and fall of breath, in the cycles of sleep and growth. The tides within us are the same tides that once washed the world into being. We are not only children of Earth, but of the Moon as well, born from the dialogue between gravity and water. As the eons passed, the Earth slowed. The Moon drifted farther away, its pull gentler but no less constant. The days lengthened, giving life more time to flourish under sunlight. Forests rose, creatures walked, and through it all the Moon continued its slow retreat, a patient witness to every transformation. It has seen the first corals bloom, the first footprints pressed into dust, the first fires kindled beneath its light. If you could watch from the Moon's surface, you would see time differently. You would see continents drift like slow breaths, ice caps advancing and retreating, oceans inhaling and exhaling over millennia. You would see civilizations rise and vanish like sparks in the dark. From that distance, humanity's story would look like a shimmer, brief, delicate, but beautiful. Perhaps that is why the Moon feels eternal to us. It has been the same companion through every age, its face unchanged even as everything else moves. When our ancestors looked up tens of thousands of years ago, they saw the same craters, the same glow, the same calm curve of light that we see tonight. It connects us to them across unthinkable spans of time. Each gaze is an echo, the same wonder, repeated through the ages, a reflection that never fades. And yet time has not left the Moon untouched. Every crater is a memory of impact, a scar of cosmic violence that shaped its stillness. It has absorbed the debris of space so that Earth might remain whole. It has taken the blows of the universe in quiet endurance. Its silence is not emptiness. It is resilience made visible. The Moon's slow retreat continues even now, a few centimeters each year. In a billion years, it will hang smaller in our sky. The tides will weaken, the length of our days will grow. The rhythm of the world will shift again, as it always has. But even as it drifts away, the Moon's influence will not vanish. The memory of its pull will live on, in fossils of ancient tidal lines, in coral rings that mark lunar cycles, in the genetic rhythms of all life that learned to breathe by its beat. To study the Moon is to study the Earth's memory. Its surface holds the record of time before life, time before atmosphere, time before us. It has seen what we never can. The early sun burning hotter, the earth glowing with youth, the birth of oceans and the first shadows on land. Every grain of lunar dust is a page in the oldest book of our existence, and within that record lies a kind of poetry, the story of how destruction became creation. The collision that birthed the moon could have ended Earth. Instead, it made it habitable. It gave us tides, stability, rhythm, time. It turned chaos into cradle. Perhaps that is the hidden meaning behind the moon's presence. That what seems like ruin can give rise to balance. That even catastrophe can become harmony when time is patient enough. The moon is proof that beauty can be born from violence, and that silence can emerge from fire. It is strange to think, when we look up at the moon, we are seeing our own past reflected back at us. The same atoms that once burned in Earth's molten core now float above, shining softly. It is as if part of the Earth chose to remain outside itself, to watch over its own unfolding story, and so the moon continues to bear witness to the first lightning over the seas, to the rise of continents, to the first voice that called another name under its glow. It has seen time stretch from chaos into music, from fire into life. Every wave that touches shore, every heartbeat, every dream that drifts between waking and sleep, all are echoes of that ancient rhythm begun when the moon and Earth first found each other. The moon does not remember in the way we do, yet its memory is everywhere. It is the still face of time, a mirror that shows us not who we are, but where we began. When you stand beneath it and feel something stir, something old and wordless, that is the memory of the cradle itself. The world remembering its first lullaby, the echo that shaped all others. The moon has watched since the beginning, and perhaps it always will. Silent, patient, infinite. The witness in the cradle of time. Every moon in the universe is a witness, some to creation, some to destruction, and some to the quiet spaces between. They orbit their worlds like ancient thoughts, circling the mind of time itself. Each one tells a different story about how light and gravity shape the fate of everything they touch. Our own moon was born from collision, a moment of unimaginable violence that gave rise to eternal calm. But not all moons are born this way. Some are captured, strays wandering through the darkness until gravity claims them. Others coalesce from dust and debris, forming gently in the disk that surrounds a young planet. And a few are carved by chance, fragments broken off from the wounds of their worlds. In the early days of any solar system, chaos rules. Clouds of gas collapse under their own weight, igniting stars. Around these new suns, dust begins to swirl. Slow at first, then faster, until it gathers into clumps. Gravity, that patient sculptor, shapes everything it touches. Tiny particles merge into stones, stones into mountains, mountains into worlds. And around some of those worlds, the leftover dust gathers again. Smaller clouds within the larger one, they circle and condense, forming miniature worlds of their own. Moons, born not from impact but from the gentle ballet of matter finding balance. They form in the same rhythm that the planets did, repeating creation on a smaller scale. But creation always carries the shadow of loss. Not every moon survives. Some drift too close to their planets and are torn apart by gravity, shredded into rings. Others are flung away, lost forever into the dark between stars. The birth of a moon is an act of delicate balance, a dance between attraction and destruction. The giant planets of our solar system, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, hold entire miniature systems of their own. Jupiter alone has more than 90 moons, from tiny, irregular shards to vast worlds like Ganymede and Europa. Some of these moons are older than life on Earth. Others may yet cradle life beneath their frozen shells. Take Europa, for instance. Beneath its cracked surface of ice lies an ocean deeper than all of Earth's seas combined. It moves and swells beneath the pull of Jupiter's immense gravity, heated by friction within. There, in eternal darkness, might exist creatures that have never seen light, beings that live by the warmth of the planet's pull rather than the glow of any sun. Then there is Titan, Saturn's largest moon, where lakes of liquid methane mirror a hazy orange sky. It rains there, not water, but hydrocarbons, droplets that fall slowly through dense air, painting rivers that never freeze in the bitter cold. Titan, in its way, is a reflection of what Earth once was. A world waiting for warmth, a chemistry on the verge of awakening. Even further out lies Triton, the captured moon of Neptune. It orbits backward against the spin of its planet, a reminder of a past collision or theft. Once Triton may have been a world of its own, perhaps a sibling of Pluto, a wanderer caught in Neptune's gravity. It is slowly spiraling inward now, and one day it will be torn apart. Neptune will gain a ring from its remains, a halo born of slow ruin. That is the story of moons. They live, they die, they change form, but never truly vanish. The dust of one becomes the seed of another. Even the rings that circle Saturn are ghosts of ancient moons, reduced to powder but still dancing around their parent world. If you could see time as a single unfolding moment, you would witness a breathtaking cycle, worlds colliding, merging, breaking, reforming, moons being born and consumed like sparks in an endless tide. Nothing in the cosmos stays still long enough to be permanent. Everything is a process, a rhythm, a flow, and yet within that flow, beauty endures. The light that touches a moon's surface tonight is the same light that once fell on newborn planets, the same light that will one day reach worlds not yet formed. Even as moons die, their dust continues to scatter that light, carrying memory across space. When we look at our moon, serene and constant, it is easy to forget that it too will one day change. The moon is drifting away inch by inch, and billions of years from now, Earth's gravity will no longer hold it as tightly. Perhaps one day the dance will end, the tides will fade, the rhythm that shaped life will slow into stillness, but the story won't stop there. The moon might wander for a time, a rogue world adrift, before being captured by another planet. Or it might break apart, forming a final ring around a dying Earth. Even in death, it would remain part of the same cycle that created it. And beyond us, in other systems, new moons are being born right now. Around infant stars, tiny specks of light swirl in dusty disks, forming orbits that will one day stabilize into balance. Somewhere, a new world gains its first satellite. A new rhythm begins, and the cosmic waltz continues. Astronomers call this the dance of resonance, and when orbits lock together in mathematical harmony, moons tug on each other, keeping their paths steady, their movements intertwined. It is as though they remember the pattern of their birth and refuse to drift apart. In that way, moons are like memory itself, fragments of something greater drawn by unseen forces, kept in balance by mutual pull. They orbit not out of obedience, but out of relationship. Gravity is not command. It is connection. Every moon carries the fingerprints of its past. Some bear craters from the chaos of their youth. Some hide oceans beneath ice. Some glow with reflected sunlight. Others sleep in shadow. Together they tell a single truth, that the universe is not static but alive, a place of constant becoming, and perhaps that is what makes our moon so precious. It is both relic and promise, the memory of our beginning, and the echo of countless other worlds. It teaches that even destruction can give rise to beauty, and that endings in the cosmos are only transformations waiting for light to return. So when you look at the moon tonight, remember that it is not alone. It belongs to a vast family of silent companions circling their worlds in distant skies. Each one is a breath in the great rhythm of the universe, a moment of balance between chaos and calm. The night is full of moons, each whispering the same secret in their quiet orbits. Nothing lasts forever, but nothing is ever truly lost. There are nights when the moon seems to be watching, not as an object in the sky, but as a presence. It hangs there in the stillness, pale and knowing, as if it remembers every story ever whispered beneath its light. The oceans move to its rhythm, forests breathe in its glow, and the sleeping world turns its face toward it, as though toward a quiet listener. Perhaps in its silence, the moon is not only reflecting light but gathering it, collecting the glimmers of all who have looked up and wondered. Every civilization that has ever existed has spoken to the moon. It has been a god, a guardian, a calendar, a friend. In ancient China, it was the Eye of Night's goddess. In Greece, it was Artemis, the untouchable huntress. To desert travelers, it was a compass. To poets, a muse. Its reflection has trembled in rivers older than history and shone through the windows of cities not yet built. Humanity has aged beneath its gaze, and through it all, the moon has remained. Patient, impartial, quietly recording the passage of time. We tend to think of the moon as still, a motionless witness, but it is always moving, orbiting, drifting, changing. The light that reaches us tonight left the sun a moment ago, bounced off the lunar surface, and fell into our eyes with a delay of mere seconds. Yet in that brief journey, it has carried an entire history, the memory of stars, the silence of space, the story of a planet watching its own reflection in another world. When astronauts first set foot on the moon, they described an overwhelming feeling, not of conquest, but of recognition. Standing in the vast quiet, they looked back at Earth, glowing blue and fragile against the black. Everything I ever knew, one said, was behind me. The moon had become a mirror, showing us ourselves for the first time from the outside. It reminded humanity that we are small, yes, but also astonishingly connected. To each other, to our home, to the celestial body we once called a mystery. And perhaps the moon has always been that mirror. It reflects sunlight, but it also reflects thought. Our fears, our desires, our wonder, all have been projected upon its surface. When it wanes, we feel loss. When it waxes, renewal. Its phases have long served as metaphors for emotion, the fullness of joy, the thin sliver of hope, the darkness of longing. In its constant cycle of light and shadow, we recognize our own lives, always changing, always returning. But the idea that the moon might be watching us too is not so far-fetched when you think of how it shapes everything below. It has sculpted coastlines, determined the rhythm of reproduction for countless species, guided migrations, and dictated the flow of life's earliest forms. It sees without eyes, through motion, through pull, through consequence. The moon's gaze is not of vision, but of influence. Its attention is gravity itself. Imagine for a moment that the moon could dream. What would it dream of? Perhaps it dreams of the ocean, the way it stretches its arms upward each night in longing. Perhaps it dreams of light, of being illuminated after eons of darkness. Or perhaps it dreams of us, the small, flickering beings who built fires in its honor and sang beneath its glow. The moon has seen every version of humanity, from our first sparks of language to the hum of our satellites. It has watched our mistakes, our triumphs, our endless searching for meaning in the void. There's a quiet kind of poetry in that. The same light that touched the faces of ancient hunters touches ours now. The same glow that fell upon the pyramids falls upon our cities of glass. Every generation looks up at the same moon and feels a similar wonder as though it were the first time. In this way, the moon binds us across time, a shared gaze unbroken through millennia. Scientists once thought the moon was entirely lifeless, a static desert of rock. But in its dust, they found records, not of life, but of time itself. The crater's mark impacts older than the continents. The soil carries particles from the sun, preserved like ancient whispers. Every grain of dust is a story, untouched by wind or rain for billions of years. The moon does not just witness, it remembers. And if the moon remembers, what does it think of us? Perhaps it feels the faint tug of our tides as a heartbeat, the shimmer of city lights as a pulse upon its skin. Maybe it listens to the radio waves that leak into space, a soft static filled with voices and music reaching it across the void. To us, the moon is silent, but to it, Earth must hum like a living thing. Vibrant and restless, there's something humbling in imagining that exchange, the Earth singing softly, the moon reflecting back its light. A call and response older than language. When we stare at the moon, we are completing that circle, giving attention back to what has always watched us. Even the shadows that move across its surface during an eclipse remind us of this connection. When the Earth passes between the moon and the sun, our planet's shadow touches the moon, a dark fingerprint, a sign that for a brief moment the watcher is touched by the watched. It is a quiet, cosmic intimacy, one that has repeated countless times and will continue long after we're gone. The moon has seen continents shift, species rise and vanish, oceans form and dry away. It will see whatever comes next. And though it has no words, it teaches through constancy, showing that presence, not noise, holds the deepest wisdom. When you stand outside at night and look up, you are part of an ancient conversation. The moon looks back, not as a god or a guardian, but as a reminder that everything is connected through light and gravity, memory and motion. That even across the vastest distances, attention is a form of love, and perhaps that is why the night feels alive. Not because we project life into it, but because, somewhere deep down, we sense that we are being seen, not judged, not measured, but gently observed by the same luminous companion that has guided every era of our existence. The moon watches without words, without need. It does not care for the passage of days or the triumph of civilizations. It only continues, glowing softly as it has always done, keeping time for a world that forgets how ancient it is, and as it rises again, spilling light across oceans and rooftops, it reminds us that watching is also a form of participation. The moon does not act, yet it moves everything. It does not speak, yet it tells every story. Perhaps that is what the night really is, or not darkness, but awareness. A vast consciousness, quiet and patient, reflecting our own back to us. The moon is its eye, open and eternal, and so the next time you find yourself beneath its light, do not just look at it, listen. You may not hear words, but you will feel something older than sound. A presence that says, I am here. I have always been here. And I am watching still. Night does not fall. It exhales slowly, gently, as if the world itself is releasing its breath after a long day beneath the sun. The air cools, the colors fade, and the final rays of light dissolve into silence. This is the hour when the moon takes its place, not as ruler, not as reflection, but as the soft boundary between waking and rest. It is the keeper of transition, the place where light learns to sleep. Every evening, the earth turns its face away from the sun, and in that turning, something miraculous happens. Day gives way not to absence, but to transformation. The light does not vanish, it changes shape, slows down, becomes gentler. It scatters across the upper atmosphere, bathing the edges of clouds in faint silver, resting on mountain tops, rippling through oceans that breathe in rhythm with the night. The world is not dark yet. It is merely dimmed as though the universe itself has drawn a curtain so our minds can rest. The moon rises into that half-light like a guardian of quiet. Its glow is not harsh, not commanding. It soothes. Even the shadows it casts are soft, without edges. And within those shadows, life begins to slow. Flowers close their petals. The wind lowers its voice. The pulse of the earth shifts from motion to memory. If daylight is a symphony of energy, then moonlight is a single, sustained note. One that lingers, barely audible, vibrating through all things. It moves differently too. Sunlight pushes and defines, but moonlight drifts. It does not reveal, it suggests. It is the invitation, not the answer. The sun demands attention. The moon asks only for stillness. When you step outside beneath that faint silver glow, notice how sound changes. Even the distant hum of life, engines, waves, the rustle of leaves, seems to settle into rhythm. There is a reason why sleep feels easier under the moon's watch. It reminds every creature that rest is not the end of movement, but its continuation in another form. Tides pull back, the heart slows, and thought begins to float like driftwood upon quiet waters. And somewhere in that drift, light itself begins to fade. Photons that once raced from the sun, that bounced off oceans and mountains and eyes, now scatter into space. Some reach the moon, strike its dust-covered plains and bounce again. Weaker, gentler, no longer fierce. In those moments light begins to forget its journey. It lays itself down upon the lunar surface, as though finding a bed after centuries of travel. The scientists who study this process speak of reflection, absorption, albedo. But there is another way to see it. Not as a physical reaction, but as a ritual. The moon takes the worn-out light of the day, softens it, and returns it to the world in the language of dreams. Every night, it performs this act of quiet alchemy, turning brilliance into comfort, energy into peace. And so when we fall asleep under moonlight, we are resting within that same transformation. The photons that touch our skin have traveled across millions of miles, only to arrive at this moment of stillness. We are not merely sleeping beneath the night. We are sleeping inside the journey of light itself. In deep night, the distinction between light and dark becomes almost meaningless. Look long enough, and you'll see that darkness is not empty. It breathes with faint reflections, glimmers of life, fragments of starlight caught in dust. Even when the moon disappears, its absence is felt as a presence. The world never truly loses light. It only carries it in softer ways. Perhaps that is the secret of the cosmos, that rest is not an end, but a return. Every star burns until it cannot, then collapses, only to rise again in a new form. Every photon fades, but its energy continues, transformed, redistributed, reborn. Even light must rest, for rest is how the universe renews its rhythm. The moon teaches us this. It waxes and wanes, but it never truly vanishes. Its darkness is only the pause between breaths, the silence before song. It tells us that there is grace in retreat, strength in stillness. That to rest is not to disappear, but to prepare for another rise. When ancient sailors looked to the moon, they did not see rest. They saw guidance. Yet in their long voyages they also found solace in its calm persistence. The same glow that revealed the edges of their world also comforted them when those edges dissolved into sea and shadow. They slept beneath its light, trusting it to watch what they could not, and perhaps that is what we do still. Every night, as we close our eyes, we surrender to something ancient, the rhythm of turning, the soft exchange between light and dark. We trust that morning will return, that the moon will fade not in loss, but in fulfillment. In this way, sleep itself is a cosmic act of faith, the willingness to let go, to let the universe continue its motion without us for a while. If you could stand on the moon and watch the Earth in its rotation, you would see waves of light and darkness sweeping across its surface like slow tides. Cities flicker like constellations. Storms coil and fade. The poles glimmer with auroras, painting sleep and wakefulness in patterns only the universe could design. From that distance, even our nights would shimmer, tiny pockets of warmth pulsing across the cold void. And as the moon orbits, carrying the sun's memory around us, it completes the final gesture of the day. It reminds every world-bound creature that nothing burns forever, and that the beauty of light lies in its willingness to rest. The moon's glow is proof that illumination can be gentle, that brilliance, when softened, becomes peace. So when you see the moon dimming before dawn, remember, it is not fading away. It is returning what it borrowed. It is closing its eyes so the sun may open its own. Every sunrise is born from the moon's surrender. Every dawn is made possible by night's patience. The world needs both, the bright and the dim, the waking and the dreaming, the heat of the sun and the hush of the moon. Together they form the pulse of existence, the endless inhale and exhale of creation, and, somewhere in that balance, in that quiet exchange between fire and reflection, lies the lesson that the cosmos has whispered since time began. To continue, one must learn to rest. To shine, one must first learn to dim, so let the night fall. Let the moon fade. Let the stars draw their veil across the sky. For in this silence, in this silver hush, you are not alone. The earth is turning, the tides are breathing, and above you, the last fragments of light are folding themselves into sleep. And as you drift with them, weightless, still, luminous, remember, this is where light learns to rest. This is where everything begins again.